Hello, friends, and welcome to yet another episode of Thank God It's Monday, the TGIM show. And today we have an absolute amazing personality, a very young, dynamic man, Mr. Pradeep Sangwan, as our guest. He's here to inspire you to take out your best, to enable you to think out of the box and to follow your passion and to make sure that 2021 is the most memorable and the best year of your life. So let's welcome Mr. Pradeep Sangwan. So, friends, today we have an awesome personality with us who is Pradeep Sangwan. Pradeep Sangwan is an environmentalist, mountaineer, trekker, and founder of Healing Himalayas. Pradeep and his army have taken a strong step to healing the Himalayas with one trek at a time through cleanliness drives. Pradeep Sangwan founded Healing Himalayas in 2016 with an intent to preserve the environment and its natural ecology to make it perfect abode for the inhabitants. He wanted to sensitize tourists, travelers, trekkers, natural ecology to make it a perfect abode. And the production of the Himalayas for many years have silently contained a dump as a result of unusual human activities. With the help of Pradeep Sangwan, Healing Himalayas works tirelessly all around the year, attempting to clean the treks while also providing a wonderful trekking experience. Their projects are focused on cleanup drives, waste management, and other activities in the foothill of Himalayas. Pradeep has been in the media for a very long time, giving exceptionally well explained interviews to the journalists. Recently, he got featured on Human of Official Humans of Bombay Instagram page, which has reached lakhs of people. Today, I'm happy to have you on the show, Pradeep, which is Thank God It's Monday. And you are not just an inspiration for me, but many across the world who are following you, and many who will shortly be following you and get inspired by
Thank
you. So let's get started, Pradeep. And thank you
you.
for giving your precious time and being here on the show. So, my first question, Pradeep, is what is a Monday for you? As our show is called Thank God It's Monday, we need to know how
Mhm.
you feel when Monday comes after a lazy Sunday.
So my weekend is usually quite opposite to what in a corporate structure it looks like. So Monday is for me basically to dispose all the collected waste on the weekend. So usually most of the weekends we organize cleaning drives throughout the year, and then most of the volunteers leave by Sunday evening because they have to catch up their office on the Monday morning. But for Monday, it's for me mostly it's like where to take the garbage, how to dispose it, how to arrange the transportations, and that was initially. But now we have all the systems in process. So whenever we collect by Monday evening, we try and dispose it to the nearest facility that is available to us. So quite hectic Monday, just like you guys have in the cities. But it's more of a field work for me. Uh, Took us a few years to actually motivate local communities to come out and participate, because uh, they are really busy with their schedule in terms of because the tourism sector they are in. So most of the time they are also preparing for the big weekend or weekends. So uh, during Wednesday, we kind of try and interact, because that's the day we finalize that we'll interact, and we'll look forward to what we are going to do within your periphery of track routes.
Okay, so Monday is the most important day, as I feel for you,
Yeah,
because
yeah, you can say
whatever
that.
waste is collected, you need to dispose that off in the proper place.
Yes, yes, yes. We
Okay.
are working towards more sustainable solutions. Instead of transporting it, we are trying to create some sort of mechanism so that we can hold on to the garbage or store the garbage for a longer run, so that we can have enough garbage so we can transport it in one go. So to bring down the cost of transportation and make it more sustainable. So we are also working towards that.
Okay. 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 Next question is that, as I just spoke, that you founded the Healing Himalayas in 2016. How difficult was it to, I mean, or easy was it to for you to conceptualize this idea of, Healing Himalayas and
Hmm.
have a team of, the same passion, people of the same passion, and get it registered and then start the foundation on a, finally, how did you start?
Hmm. So initially it was difficult because I didn't know the ABCD of these, registration processes, or my background doesn't really support what I do right now. So I didn't really know much about, the plastic pollutions or the climate emergency or the sustainable development goals. So I had to study a lot about it, which I gave up a long time ago after my college. So most of my time, was to interact with the trekkers, go on and explore new areas. So I kind of, completely ditched education in a way. No more books for me, just the, personal interaction, or, although it was a very lively life, but, so it was difficult initially. So when you start something like this, I think the first fight you have to give is with your family. You need to, explain them in a way so that they can understand. But I didn't really find any proper way to explain them this because they didn't really understand this concept that how are you going to do this all your life, like you're going to pick up somebody else's waste all your life. So this is the basic layman language they understand, like कूड़ा उठाना है, पढ़ाई क्या करी थी फिर, all that stuff. So it's difficult initially, but if you are determined and you continue the work that you thought about, and if you are passionate about it, things will align automatically. So I really, did what I, it was very consistent for me. Every weekend initially, I had to explore what are the locations where the footfall is heavy, things like that. So I was used to trekking, but eventually when I added cleaning into it, so it was a bit difficult because when you track any particular track through, while cleaning, it becomes almost double. So eventually I figured out the way that how exactly we are going to go about it. Passion is one thing, but at the same time you need a lot of supporting pillars for it, whether it's education, your local connections, administration. Everybody should align with your thought process. But one thing was very consistent, that was that we organized a lot of cleaning drives to get ourselves exposed to that particular environment, and then really see how to go about it. Once the collected waste, where it's going to go, are they recycling it properly, or it's just a waste of our time because we've been cleaning it, and then eventually it is being dumped in a river or in a landfill again. So it took me a few years to align all these things, but eventually now the project I was talking about earlier is that we sort of came out with our own waste collection centers in these areas. So we started building one in Kinnaur. Now the next is in Parvati Valley, Kulu district, wherein the again the footfall is about 15 lakhs travelers, trekkers come in to that particular small valley within a year. So you can see the footprint there. So we are trying to build these small scale waste collection facilities so that we can collect, store, and utilize that waste properly into the right direction. So to make it a part of value chain or circular economy. So these things came along with everything that I said was on a very passionate note. But along with it, a lot of education through books, internet, and multiple people who educated and guided me. So that's how we became more sustainable in this direction. So initially, it's always difficult, but if you are consistent, you'll find a way.
And you are a testimony for that. Do you have a count of how many cleaning drives you've done so far in the Himalayas, and what are your upcoming plans?
So initial first year, 2016, we didn't do much, but according to the world, we did pretty okay. But now we have geared up, and we have kind of multiplied our cleaning drives at various locations. So in a year, we do about 40 to 45 cleaning drives, roughly depending upon the weather, how much the climatic conditions permit us. So March first week we start our cleaning drives, and we go up to November end. In between 3 months, I take a break from everything, but we need to complete the background work, basically the documentation and everything, and meet up good fellows like, CEOs, CFOs of various companies so that they can, give us some sort of funding for the upcoming projects. So 3 months I spent there. So every year we do about 40 to 45 cleaning drives. We would like to continue that. We are trying to create local champions in every area so that they don't really need me and they can take up the cleaning drives on their own. And we have done that successfully. Maybe we can, take it up to not just Himachal, but we can go into Uttarakhand also. And this year we started in March. Because of COVID, we had to postpone everything. But now, this Sunday, coming Sunday, we are organizing a cleaning drive in Rishikesh. Initially, whenever we start something, we start with a cleaning drive at a very particular location so that people get to know that this is what we are going to do. And then eventually we come up with the long-term solutions in that particular location so that everybody gets to know us, the communities, the administration, forest department, tourism department. Thankfully, most of them know about Healing Himalaya now. So it is becoming easier for us. So we start with cleaning drives, then we go for the long-term solutions. So every year we do about 40 to 45 cleaning drives. And so far, now I'm not counting anymore, but until last year, we collected about 800,000 kilograms of non-biodegradable waste from the track routes.
Wow.
And so this is pretty much about it, that kind of cleaning drives that we organize.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You also organize treks in many regions, Pradeep. We'd like you to tell us about them.
Multiple locations. Yes, we have multiple locations. We start with small. There are multiple options that we have in terms of cleaning drives. So one is around the cities, wherein we target or focus places, small biodiversity parks, but eventually they have become more of a party hubs or loud music zones. So we try and create some or organize some cleaning drives there. Then we go to higher altitude in the month of April. Prasha Rishi Lake, it's easily motorable, but the places which are motorable, they are pretty much polluted as well. Along with plastic waste, we'll find a lot of glass bottles intact, broken, both ways. So, and then there are places which are not motorable, so you have to trek. Khir Ganga, Hamda Pass, and then one of the most extreme treks that we do is pilgrimage, one of the 5 Kailashas. It's called Shrikhand Mahadev. That's about 70 kilometers of a trek, and the altitude is about 5,000 meters, which is roughly 18,000 feet. So we only take local who are very much into trekking and been pretty much experienced and basic and advanced course trekkers. So there are multiple levels of trekking, but it comes with a purpose. It's not just trekking; it will always be trekking and cleaning, something you can give back to the nature and the very little contribution that we all can do. So yes, these are the options, and the calendar will be up.
I would again like to say that you're doing an awesome job. Awesome job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome service to Mother Nature.
Mm-hmm. Trying our best. We're trying to involve as many people as we can.
Very well said, Pradeep. We'd also like to know, how do you collect funds for the Healing Himalayas Foundation and all your other endeavors? What is the source of funds? Because as you said, you hardly take money for the treks, and it's more or less on a very low cost basis. Then from where do you get the funds? Because there's a lot of money involved.
Yeah. So first couple of years, again, it was very difficult in terms of getting volunteers or convincing your family or getting funds. But during one of the cleaning drives in Khir Ganga, we usually collect more than we can carry. So because there's a lot, and once you see and you have eye contact with the waste, you can't really avoid collecting. So again, we were only about 15 or 16 volunteers that time, and we collected about 60 to 70 bags. Even in my capacity also, I can carry 5, 6, 8 bags at a time because plastic is light, but while carrying it, it's become a big load.
Yeah.
So there was this group of 10 boys and one girl, 11. So I asked them that we usually, try and capture some volunteers while trekking so that we can ask them to carry our garbage. So that so some of them, eventually come up and then they take the opportunity. But some of them are really tired and they can't really. Although most of them are willing to do it, but their physical capacities doesn't really allow them. So something similar happened with this group also. I asked them, please carry 2-3 bags. But though the 10 boys said, no, we can't really because we hardly made it to the top and we can't really walk properly while going downhill. So it's going to be very difficult for us. But the girls said yes. And all the 10 boys were like, oh, really? Now we have to carry. Yeah, big thumbs up. So so they said that I really scolded them. You should be physically fit enough to come to the mountains. If you're not physically fit, you don't respect your body. And then second, you come to the mountains and then I'm sure you might have littered also and things like that. I accused them. I didn't know much about their routine and etc. But then eventually they said, we'll take 2-3 bags and we'll try and carry it as far as it's possible. But let's see how far we can go. That happened. And after 10 days, I got a call from one of those guys. I didn't really ask their name. So one of the guys said that, see, I don't know if you remember me. You scolded me during that trek, and we couldn't really, we were not able to carry that much of garbage. So he said that I'm the CSR head of this company, and I really could not do much physically, but financially, I would like to support your team. And we have this much of amount of funds available, so we would like to donate it. And I was like, okay, that's a great thing. That's how this CSR thing started. So if anybody is who's listening to this, please, my advice is don't give up. First couple of years will be very challenging, but eventually things will turn around for you as well. But you need to work hard consistently.
Yes, absolutely. So as they say that, nothing.
पहाड़ों में कहावत है एक, it's called धीरे धीरे पर्वत गिरे. So slow and steady you will win the race.
Absolutely right. जिंदगी का कोई भी काम मतलब मुश्किल तो सभी कुछ होता है, बट आई थिंक हासिल वही होता है जिसपे आप लगे रहो कंसिस्टेंटली. रात हो, दिन हो, सुबह हो, शाम हो, बारिश हो, आंधी हो, लगे रहिए उस पे. और वो चीज आपको आपके नीचे आपको आप हासिल कर ही लेंगे उसको. और वही आपने कर दिखाया प्रदीप. 4 साल से आप लगे रहे. शुरू में शायद अकेले ही रहे होंगे और आस्ते आस्ते आपके साथ एक आर्मी सी अब बन गई है. और मेरी तो ये दुआ है, प्रेयर है कि हम सब भी जो सुन रहे हैं, हम सब भी आपका साथ दे पाएं और हमारी एक बहुत बड़ी आर्मी हमारे हिमालयास को हील करती रहे.
हाँ जी, जब भी हम क्लीनिंग ड्राइव पे जाते हैं तो वी फील लाइक वी आर गोइंग फॉर अ सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक.
Coming back to your Mondays, you said Monday is the day when you dispose of the collected waste. So my question is, when you collect the waste, how do you recycle it and how is it basically taken care of?
Mm-hmm. So it depends what kind of garbage we are talking about. So there are three major, products that we get, especially the MLPs, multi-layer packaging plastics, then PET, and then third is glass bottles. And for the same, see, I told you that we are in the process of building these small-scale waste collection centers, just like a warehouse in Haryana or Punjab where they can store their dry ration or grains, or a cold storage in the Himalayas where they can store their apple products. Similarly, we need to create these small-scale waste collection centers so that we can store our garbage and then we can play around it in multiple directions. For example, MLP can be given back to the FMCG producing companies through EPR. EPR is extended responsibility. So recently, a new mandate came in through solid waste management policy, wherein all the producers of plastics, especially MLPs, they need to buy back their waste, no matter which company it is from, but they need to collect the same amount they produced in a year. So through which we will try and sell the garbage back to them so that they can further process it and make it a part of value chain into various directions. For example, waste to energy, waste to fuel, multiple things there are. Second is PET. So PET is already, there are multiple companies or thousands of companies to recycle it and then make it polyester out of it. Multiple things. We can, once we start collecting the waste, we might use it for waste to constructing a road in the remote area. Because of the excessive snowfall, every year the road is in a very uh, bad shape. So we try and do it that we'll collect waste for a couple of years, and then we'll utilize it for constructing a road. So there are multiple directions. So now, first 3 years it was difficult. We really didn't know how to dispose it properly because we were relying on the waste to energy plants. But in India, waste to energy plants are not really sustainable. Most of them are already shut, 50% at least. Although government is really focusing on the large scale solutions, but we try and focus on the decentralized approach when it comes to garbage, because these small units will support the larger units. And for that, we need to collect waste from kitchen itself, household itself, or the commercial property. Because once the garbage takes a detour and when it reaches us, the quality will degrade to such level that it is not useful anymore. So we need to collect waste directly from the household level, commercial level, and then use it further. So that's why we are trying to build these small scale waste collection centers at multiple locations. We have already finished one waste collection center's construction, and will be operational by the first week of April next year. And then we are replicating this process in multiple valleys wherein the footfall is again very heavy. Whether it's Kullu district, we already aligned with the forest department. The major issue comes in who's going to give the land. So now forest department is working with us, so they'll provide us land. We'll construct operational part, will also take care. And then we'll go to Lahore Valley, because the Atal Tunnel, there are so many tourists coming into the valley, and they have seen the small trailer of it in just few months. And next year is going to be a disaster for them. So we're trying to build these small scale waste collection centers and then eventually make it a part of value chain into multiple directions. That once you start collecting the good quality waste, it will be, it can be channelized into multiple directions. So this is our way ahead for next 3-4 years. We'll continue with our cleaning drives, but at the same time, we'll try and build these waste collection centers.
Okay, okay. Makes sense, Pradeep. Because ultimately, we have to dispose of it in the right direction as well.
Yes.
Okay.
We need to complete the circle actually.
Absolutely, absolutely. Last couple of months have been difficult for everybody because of the pandemic. How has pandemic changed the structure of your project, Healing Himalayas project?
So during the COVID times, we had a lot of time actually, and we saw multiple things happening all around us. In terms of COVID versus the climate change, it's a very temporary respite, and the air quality and everything is back to the same. You are in Delhi, so you know it very well. That during COVID times, it was the best quality you could ever get in Delhi of air, but now it's back to the square one. So that was a temporary respite. But for me, COVID was good because we did a lot of work during that time. Because see, in Himalayas we have about 54,000 glaciers, and about 1.3 billion people depend on it. And if we don't control the increasing temperature below 1.5 degrees, we'll lose about 75% of the glaciers within the next 30-40 years. So that's very alarming for us. But we are doing our bit by creating systems to dispose solid waste, one of the pillars which contributes a lot to the climate change. There are multiple aspects, people can follow that, and pandemic is an eye opener. We as an Indian community is mostly we wait for the miracles, but we end up facing disasters most of the time, and this is one of it.
Very right, very rightly said. Pradeep, what is your message to the youth, the young population of India, about taking care of our environment, and how can they become a part of nature?
See, India is one of the youngest nations in the world now. So my message is very simple. People really see people who pay taxes, students who have lots of energy and free time, stop complaining first, because most of the time taxpayers say that I pay so many taxes and still I don't get good quality of air. See, we need to realize what is our role in this big format, and again, don't go for the large scale solutions, go for small scale. And the one thing that you have in control is your lifestyle. So focus on that. What can you do in your small, simple capacity? Small is always beautiful. Large is not very sustainable most of the time. So, try and reach for the moon, but always be grounded at the same time. This is my simple advice. The kind of Reiki we do while we.
Pradeep, how are you promoting your endeavors? Like how do you talk about healing Himalayas, and how do you feel social media, or how important is social media, in that?
So for me, I think social media did so many things, like from getting volunteers to connecting with people for raising funds. But when I started healing Himalayas and this work, then I really got into it and I really learned a lot of things. And I handle all of my personal accounts and so healing Himalayas account. So I, you know, invest a lot of good time into social media. So to get regular volunteers, and most of my volunteers are through social media, especially Instagrammers and everything. So social media is very important, but utilize it for a good reason also, not just to, don't be in a hurry to scale, explore new locations and post photos as well, but try and connect with the community there and realize that why exactly you are here. So this is the thing for us, that empowering multiple options. And I couldn't really reach out to the mainstream media or anything else, but social media was there for me. So utilize it properly.
Pradeep, that brings us to the end of our questions. But what I'd like you to share here, for our audience who's hearing us right now, is
Mhm.
your social media platforms, so that they can reach out to you. And if they want to have a
Mhm.
word with you, or if and they want to join you, where should
Mhm.
they log on or look at you? If you could share
The
your.
priority should be the website actually. So website is important because we can send in emails in bulk. You will get to know about so many things that we do. Website, Instagram handle, Twitter, Facebook accounts, everything. Just search Healing Himalayas and you'll get to know. So it's very easy nowadays to connect with like-minded people or join the army who's there out there for a cause. So Healing Himalayas, search it on Google. Everywhere we are there. We are very receptive.
Good. Pradeep, it's been an awesome, inspiring session with you. Thank you so much, Pradeep, once again.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you.
you.